Malika Bilal, once again, co-host of Al Jazeera's show, the stream, the social media stream, and can tell us what's happening out there in what I think they call a blogosphere, don't they?
Blogosphere, Twittersphere. Well, thank you, David. Twitter users are reacting, and the social media skew for Obama is showing with the hashtag #IfRomneyWins, which is trending. Leanne tweets, "It'll be the 20th century all over again if Romney wins. Women, homosexuals, and minorities will all be affected. Goodbye, peace." And Chucky says, "If Romney wins, Canada is going to have a flood of refugees." And Jasmine adds, "If Romney wins, there goes my scholarship." Meanwhile, we're still seeing activity around the lines, especially at Ohio State. University Dist History tweets, "Thrilled that so many Ohio State students turned out to vote. 90-minute lines on campus, 45-minute lines in the neighborhoods, unprecedented." And Lois says, 700 plus outside of Ohio State University Student Union lining up 1 hour before the polls close. Former Governor Strickland is there. Well, take a look at those lines at Ohio State. They are long. This video is shaky, but you get the idea. Lots of young people getting in line at the last moment. It winds round and round. Well, joining us from Google is Dan Seberg. Dan, you've seen some interesting correlations in what's happening and what people are searching for. What do these searches tell us, especially around Ohio?
Yeah, well, certainly people are interested to know things about where their polling place is, the hours. You know, we launched our voter information tool, which has been getting a lot of traffic, more than 20 million lookups for people finding that information. But in particular in Ohio, I've got a graphic here that we've created on our elections page. And you can see that there's definite search interest in Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio for Mitt Romney. And for President Obama, you can see that there's certainly a lot of search interest there, too. And interestingly, if we go to this other graphic, you can see a huge spike over the last 24 hours in Ohio, searches related to voter fraud. So people curious to know what's going on there. It could be anything from finding about those lines, what's happening with the voting process, and just the practical stuff. People wanting to know, where is my polling place? Is it still open? Can I go stand in line? All of those types of questions people are searching.
Right, I did one myself asking what time do the polls close in this state?
Yeah.
Using Google, of course. Well, joining us on Google+, speaking of Google, is a panel of bloggers and reporters following activity at the polls in key swing states. Brendan Fisher, you're a journalist and lawyer with the Center for Media and Democracy in Wisconsin. It's a swing state, but leaning Obama. How's it looking?
I think it's looking good, and I think if Obama does take the state, it'll be further proof that the state's progressive traditions are not dead. The state did elect Obama by about 14 points in 2008, but then over the past 2 years, there have been many indications that the state had gone red, had gone conservative. In 2010, we replaced a very liberal and progressive U.S. Senator, Russ Feingold, with Ron Johnson, who is proved to be one of the more conservative members of the U.S. Senate. And we also elected Governor Scott Walker, who's a far-right Tea Party Republican, who, after he introduced restrictive collective bargaining laws, cracked down on public sector unions in the state. He prompted months of protests, and he was objected to a recall election, but he survived it. So the fact that he was elected not once but twice, I think gave many people the idea that Wisconsin had indeed gone red, and that meant something bad for Obama. But I think that we're seeing that that's not the case. And the down ticket race in the U.S. Senate, Wisconsin has a chance to elect another very progressive U.S. Senator, Tammy Baldwin. And if she is elected, she would be the first openly gay member of the U.S. Senate.
And of course, Al Jazeera has just called Wisconsin for President Obama. Now, John Tomasic, you write for the Colorado Independent website. You're in a state that was neck and neck. What's the sense there?
Still neck and neck. Polls just closed a couple of minutes ago. It's a solid swing state, but every year it seems to be increasingly leaning blue. The demographics are slowly changing. More immigrants, more women have a larger role, minority voters. It seems like most of the elections in the last 5 years have hinged on women voters, minority voters, and youth voters. And that's the strategy the Obama campaign has really depended on. And the trend lines right now seem to be, they look like they're taking off that way, but it's still very even, and it's early in the night.
Well, Dorothy Parvez from our very own Al Jazeera awesome web team. You're in Ohio, the prize tonight. What have you seen?
Well, I've seen a lot of early voter turnout over the past few days, and today I've seen a lot of anxious people in Cuyahoga County. People are really worried about anything possibly interfering with their votes being counted. So we had some situations in a few places where the scanning machines weren't working, or people were turned away a couple of times mistakenly because they were told they didn't have the proper identification with them or sufficient identification. And they did some sort of redistricting, which made a big change for some people. So in other words, where they'd been voting for years, suddenly was no longer their local precinct. It wasn't their local polling station, and they had to find out where they had to vote. They had no idea. So perhaps they were using that Google application for that. But yeah, mostly a lot of very anxious people worried that their votes wouldn't count.
And we'll be looking for more of those kind of stories throughout the night. But thanks to everyone for hanging out with us. Of course, this conversation continues online. So tweet us with the hashtag AJStream. David?